Hi and welcome back to Classic MGB. Now today we are in the heart of the Cotswolds. We're at the Cotswold Wildlife Park for the MGs in the park, organised by the Oxfordshire MG Owners Club. And I cannot believe the number of MGs that are already here. We're just early in the morning and the field's almost packed, so there's not a moment to lose. So probably a good place to start is to talk to Pete McHugh. He's the area secretary of the Oxfordshire MG Owners Club. So Pete, tell me a bit about how this event started.
Well, we've been coming here for about 26 years. I think this is our 26th event. We may have missed one through COVID. We've got a great relationship with the owners of the wildlife park here. Reggie Hayworth is a great exponent of our love for our MGs. He throws the door open to us every year. We come along, we advertise, and the throngs arrive. I think we'll probably get 500 here today, maybe. It's sometimes dependent on the weather, but today's weather is pretty good.
That's fantastic. And you get plenty of trade stands as well. So tell us roughly what's here today.
Well, we've got a mixture of trade and general interests and a bit of nice food and tasty bits. So we've got the MG Owners Club over here. We've got some of the registers from the MG Car Club. And we're pretty lucky, actually, being in Oxfordshire. We've got a great relationship with both our parent club, which is the Owners Club, and also with the Car Club. And we share the interest, which is MGs. You'll get parts for your cars. You'll get more cake. There's lots and lots of things to enjoy here.
It must take an awful lot of organisation every year. So you must have a whole team to support you.
Yeah, we've got a fantastic team. In fact, our events team is made up of Peter and Pauline Mapson. They're stepping down today. This is their last event. Sadly, they've been great exponents. Their professionalism is wonderful. But yes, we start planning around about November of this year. We'll start planning. We'll start booking slots. We'll start booking advertising. We'll get our media sorted out, and we'll start posting adverts in various MG magazines and that type of thing, and spreading the word. So
it's really good, actually, to see an event like this, because, I mean, you read in the classic car press that events are going down, people aren't coming along. Looking at this place, it looks like you're the exception.
Well, yeah, I think in the next couple of hours, this place will be humming with the sound of MGs arriving in their throngs. They open the doors for us early. The park normally opens at 10 o'clock. At 9:30 this morning, there was a queue of MGs stretching way back, and they open the doors for us, and they come in. Yeah, we're an established event now, and with certain big shows like MG Live isn't around anymore, this would probably be the next best thing. We're ideally situated right in the heart of England. You know, we're in beautiful Cotswold countryside, so people come and stay the weekend, and what better place to have?
So one of the attractions of the MGs in the Park event is the pride of ownership. And to be honest, looking at this 1963 Roadster, they don't come much better. And I'm with its owner, Mark Moore. Mark, tell me about the car.
Yes, it's a 1963 MGB. I've owned it for about 12 years. And I was really lucky. I bought it unrestored. So everything is original. I obviously did a lot of work on it to restore it as it were, but I remanufactured everything. So really, really lucky. In fact, the car has never been welded. So it's got its original panels, sills, everything.
How on earth? I mean, that's 60 years old. How on earth did you manage to keep it? I mean, mine's a 1973 and it's got rust on it.
Well, I've got some good documentation, and I found it in Newcastle. And believe it or not, it's only ever done 60,000 miles from new. And going back through the records, you can see that it's only ever been used as a summer car. In other words, it's only ever done 1,000 miles a year. So it's never been a mainstream car, as it were.
So how on earth did you acquire the skills to be able to remanufacture everything?
I'm an agricultural engineer.
Right, okay.
I work for Massey Ferguson in Coventry.
Okay.
And believe it or not, there's not a lot you can't do in Coventry, given the sort of the centre of the motor industry and all the skills that still exist, believe it or not.
So why an MGB? What's special about the MGB?
They're very easy to work on. They're an affordable classic, very reliable. There's not a lot you can't do on them, as it were. So it's not like some are more of an expensive brand. You can park this in Tesco's and go shopping in it without fear of sort of someone bumping up against it. So it's a really usable classic car.
Now, the MG badge has been used on loads of cars from the very early stuff in the 1920s and 30s right up to the current day for the Chinese stuff. And it's not just the sports cars, because it was used a lot for branding on standard saloon cars and hatchbacks. And probably, or one of the most famous, is this one. It's the MG Metro. So from one sort of Metro to a completely different sort of Metro. It's a 6R4, or actually a 6R4 replica. And to my eyes, it looks really good. And I'm with the owner, Gary Bayliss. So Gary, tell me a bit about the car.
Well, as you say, it's a genuine Metro shell. Started life as a 1.3L. It's a full space frame chassis inside, all suspension, engine, gearbox all hanging off the space frame. Genuine 6R4 body kit, running a Honda K20 supercharged 2-litre engine through a Quaife 5-speed sequential gearbox. And yeah, 8 years of my life building.
So it's an absolutely fantastic thing. You know, I remember these things rallying. They were just brilliant. But as you say, 8 years of your life, I have to ask, why?
Yeah, why? And why spend all that money on a shell that cost me £1,000? Exactly. I actually worked at MG Rover, did my apprenticeship there. So I actually got to see them build the shells. And being an apprentice at the time, you could wander around Rover, or Austin Rover as it was then. Always wanted one, but obviously could never afford a genuine one. So I thought, well, if you can't buy one, build one.
Yeah, so I saw a genuine one went for something like £400,000 recently.
Yeah, the Rob Arthur, Tony Pond car. Yeah. I think the cost was 4.25. No way could I afford something like that, although didn't expect to spend as much as I did on this. But over an 8 year period, you can spread the costs, so it's not all thrown at you in one go. Because if somebody said, build me that, how much? Well, there's no way I could afford it anyway. So.
Dare I ask how much?
I stopped counting after 35. That's all I'll say. And I genuinely don't know, and don't tell the wife.
Now, one of the nice things about these events is you end up seeing very rare cars, and this is a very rare MGC. And to tell me more about it is its owner, Colin Howes. Colin, tell me about the car.
Well, the car is a University Motors Special. What happened was when Abingdon were producing the MGC, towards the end of the production, they were struggling to sell them. And then there were a lot of cars being held in the compound. So University Motors, which is a massive dealership in London, decided to buy the last 131 cars and sell them through. They did a pretty good job in selling them, but then they were stuck with the final cars, which were the low-spec cars. This particular car was Grampian grey, didn't have overdrive, it had steel wheels. So it was pretty low in the pecking order that people wanted. So University Motors came up with the concept of making specials, and in that they would put various customization, both engine performance and cosmetic. And this car was given the full treatment, and it became the demonstrator for the specials at University Motors.
Excellent. So tell me, what are the main modifications that have happened to the car? I mean, is these obviously these square headlights, which is incredibly rare. I don't think I've ever seen another one with square headlights.
No, there were only 2 cars built with this modification. The headlights are CB headlights, and they weren't used in any other production car except for a CD Panhard, which you don't see many of those. No. On the rear arches, they flared the arches very slightly, fitted a Webasto sunroof. There was a wooden dash as well, and we believe all of this work was done by Wooden Picket, nice. Famous for the Minis. Yeah. Then the other modifications are performance related, and that is to replace all the conventional shock absorbers with, telescopic on the rear, and Coney shock absorbers, which were fitted. The engine was also given a Downton modification, and this particular car has got the Downton 45, which is stage 3. So it's got the 6-branch manifold, the triple carburetors.
So how does it perform compared to the standard MGC?
Quite different. I've got an MGC Roadster, which is totally standard, and compared this to the Roadster, I mean, they are chalk and cheese, but it's not sort of rapid fast. It's just a nice car to drive.
So you're an absolute fan of the MGC. What appeals to you about the car? What's special about it?
Oh, I had an MGB GT. This is about 45 years ago, and then I started going to shows. Then I saw the C, and then it just fell in love with it. I mean, the massive engine. I know people sort of complain that it's a very heavy engine and so forth, which it is, but it just looks right.
It's surprising the number of people that buy Bs for special reasons. And I'm with Roy Leafield, who's got a very special reason as to why he bought his MGB. Roy, tell me the story.
In 2009, I suffered a massive nervous breakdown, and I found myself wanting something to do. My wife had a friend who had this car, and this was supposed to help me with me nervous breakdown. And ever since 2009, I've been slowly getting it back together. But if anybody asked me how much it cost, I couldn't tell them, because if I told my wife, I'd be shot. And that's how you do things.
Roy, so tell me a little bit more about the car.
The car itself, completely stripped by me, right down to the bare bones. The engine, I'm a mechanic by trade, so what I did do was I did all the engine myself. I replaced the gearbox by putting in a overdrive gearbox in it. I learnt many years ago how to reset differentials and do all that. My welding was done by my brother, who is an excellent welder, much better than I. We built a rotisserie for it and turned it upside down on its side in front of my garage, and we replaced front wings, rear wings, inner wings, both rear chassis members, both floors, the spare wheel cell, and everything else.
And it's lovely to see you looking so happy about it, despite the amount of money you spent.
Listen, I've got to keep happy somehow. When somebody comes up, like yourself, and comes up and says to you, the amount of work you've done on your car is a pride. And to me, it's a pleasure to speak to people like yourself. Thank you very much indeed for stopping and talking to me.
Roy, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much indeed.
Now, I love my MGB GT, but I'm sorely tempted by a V8. And I'm with Peter Newman, who's got a really nice one. Peter, tell me about your car.
I bought it in 2011. It was a real mess, basically. I brought it home, and the wife was obviously not happy at all. And I took it out for a drive, and it broke down straight away. So my neighbour towed me home, and the wife's face was a million words, basically. She was not happy. So I decided I'll have a play with it and start taking it apart. Well, it came apart, literally everything. So the first thing I did was made a rollover jig, totally stripped it out. So the body shell was just a shell, and got it shot blasted. And the guy had great pleasure in telling me that there's more in a bag than there was car left. So basically I went and bought all the new panels for it, and so new floor pans, all new rear wheel arches, new chassis cross members. It's basically a trigger's broom now. It's more new parts than there are old. Did it all myself, rebuilt the engine. The only thing I got done by a professional company was the transmission, because of the overdrive unit it needs setting up. So apart from the transmission, I did everything else myself.
So how do you get the skills to do that? I mean, I do oil changes, but rebuilding an entire car is way beyond me.
Me personally, I've worked for Cotswold most of my life. So I've worked in Formula One. Cotswold is it's a bit like an aircraft company where things have to be right. And so tyre wraps have to be the right way around and it's equal distance apart. And everything has to be a straight line. And if you've got OCD, it's a perfect place to work because it has to be correct. And that's inbred in me now. And so I've tried to make my car look as correct as I can. And also, if it looks right, it generally is right.
Absolutely. So what was the biggest challenge in terms of actually renovating or rebuilding the car?
Welding is I was absolutely rubbish at the start. So I bought myself a MIG welder. Because years ago when I used to do cars, when I was a youngster, it used to be gas welding and all that. But MIG welding was like thing to do, less heat, less distortion.
Sure.
And I started off and I was absolutely rubbish. And I had to practice on bits of metal in the garage and play. But I must be honest, when I finished welding this, I was absolutely superb. So I'd done hours and hours of welding. And I was getting lovely seams on it in the end, and it was good.
It looks absolutely superb, I have to say. It's, the pride of ownership is the place to see the real lovely cars, and this is a beautiful one. But what's special about the MGB? Why did you get one?
Well, I've owned, when I was 17, I called to the girl, wife's not listening, called to the girl who had an MG midget, and her two brothers also had an MGB and an MGB GT. And I used to go out with them a lot in their cars, and I fell in love there and then. So I brought my GT when I was 17, which is the 1.8 GT, which I still own to this day, and I'm 60 now. So I've got an MGB GT at home, 1.8. So I've always had the love, and I restored it back in the early 80s, and used to concourse it and show it, and then got married, had children, and the car lived in the garage and become a shelf basically. So I decided to restore it again. This was like the late 90s, early 2000s. So I restored it again, back up to concours again, which is really weird because I was working on stuff that I did when I was like 19, 20 years old, and it was a bit strange. Anyway, I've done it all again, and then I always wanted a V8. And so I was at work one day on eBay, as you do, and one popped up on eBay in Northampton. I come from Northampton. Right. I work in Northampton. And I went, oh, that's quite local. And I've not seen it before. And so I rang him up I emailed him straight away, messaged him, and said, could I come around and see it? And he said, yeah, I'll come home from work at 5 o'clock. I said, I'll be there. So I literally left work early, got some money out, and I was literally at his driveway when he pulled up in his car. Because I got lots of phone calls on this. I thought, I'm not surprised. No. So I basically looked round it, made sure it was an original car, which it was, factory car, and I just give him the money there and then.
So this is a genuine factory V8 rather than one that's had the things put in. The engine's original?
Yep, it's all original. Original transmission, original engine, apart from the body, which is a bit like Trigger's broom, as I said. But basically, I tried to leave things as standard. The radiator's not standard. It's got an aluminium, thicker radiator. I sprayed the top black to try and hide that a little bit. Yeah. But generally, everything else is from factory. Because I don't believe in modifying cars like that. If you're going to buy a modified car, go make it an MX-5. So that's my theory on it.
So there you go, more than 500 MGs in the park. I hope you don't mind that they weren't all MGBs, but there were a couple of really interesting other MGs. If you want to come and have a really good look at lots of MGs, come here next year with the Oxfordshire MG Owners Club. If you've enjoyed the video, please like it, subscribe, click the bell for notifications, and share it with anybody that's interested. As always, many thanks for watching, and take care.